Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Merry Christmas Wednesday to you. This is our final Christmas Wednesday, and it is our second Santa cookie rug. So, saying that, I want to talk about a few things. So for those of you who are new and you're wondering, what is a Santa cookie rug? It's a mug rug, but bigger, okay? And that allows you to lay out a mat that allows for the cookies, the letter, the cocoa, the Magic Reindeer Food, the carrots, or anything that y'all do as a tradition the night before Christmas. It gives you a special place for that. So that's one of the things I want to talk about before I really get into this week's project. In 2021, and people pick words of the year. Well, in 2021, Halo picked the word believe. And it's a very powerful, magical word, the word believe. And for when 2022 came around, we elected just to keep it. So it is our forever, every year word. Hence why it got put into the ending when we say, may you continue to be inspired, productive, and joyful. Never stop believing and never stop making your dreams come true at the end. That believing part it all came from the start of the word of the year that has forever stuck and will forever stick with Halo as their word of the year. Excuse me, I do have a small cold, so bear with me. All right. So saying that, these Santa cookie rugs that I do every year, this is our third year running, and I don't want to stop. And they'll get more fun, more, it'll always be something that you can know that it's going to happen and have, the opportunity to make one for yourself, or for a family member, a child, or whatever it is. But, the word believe is a very powerful word, and it's not just a word that you can just say. It's a word that requires a do. It's a doing word. So it's not, for instance, it's not like I can just say, I believe I'm going to grow up and be the best ballerina in the world and never do anything with that and just all of a sudden be the best ballerina in the world when you grow up. It requires a lot of discipline and practice and all the things that you need to do to get to that place. You have to do what you believe. If you believe it, you got to do the things to help make that generate, okay? So for Christmas, the Santa cookie rugs is they're my biggest thing that I look forward to every year, because it's my way of trying to gift to you a place and an opportunity to bring that belief of the magic of Christmas back inside of you. Because when you believe in the magic of Christmas, something special happens. And it really does. You have to do things to help that, though, right? You just can't just say, I believe in it. What do we do? Well, when that special something hits you and you really believe, you have random acts of kindness. Your spirit seems to be more happier. You're more gracious, more forgiving. You're just a ball full of Christmas magic yourself. Okay. So there's some things that go into that, but when it happens, it's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. And I will tell you, as a young adult, I did not like Christmas. And it wasn't the idea of Christmas. It was the idea of all the hustle and bustle. And I would like a Christmas list. What's the perfect gift? People being angry and frustrated and always trying to get that perfect this and that perfect that. And I have to have this and I got to have that. And I felt like the real meaning behind Christmas, which I am religious, so for me it is Jesus Christ as my Savior was born that day. However, it goes beyond that. And, that whole spirit of the holiday, it doesn't even have to be necessarily that you celebrate Christmas. It can be Hanukkah. It could be any religious activity that you participate in. But it gets lost unless you allow yourself to believe in the magic of the holiday. And then your spirit is lifted, and you in turn may lift somebody else's spirits too. And it just makes life wonderful. So as that young adult who didn't like Christmas for many years, when I started to understand what it meant, I'll tell people I believe in Santa Claus. And it's because he lives in my heart. And the act of all of that coming together is what brings me joy. And in turn, I hope that I can bring joy to others. And it just makes the holiday a much different place that just absolutely becomes magical. And it's such a big thing to me that my husband actually this year gifted me a little early present. And I don't know if you'll be able to see exactly what it says. Nope. It's etched in see-through glass, okay? But it says the word believe in beautiful little etching. And underneath it says, in the magic of Christmas. And I literally cried tears of happiness because this is what I wish for every human being on earth, is to believe in the magic of their holiday and believe in human beings and the kindness and the joy that you can find during this wonderful time of year. So, saying that, that's where the Santa cookie rugs come in, because I'm trying to find a way to come to you as a quilter and give you a project that just may bring a little bit of magic or a little bit of belief, and then you're doing something to help bring that in. And this one is really, and I talk a little bit again about all this at the end, but this one is really special. And as you see, it's Santa's coat. Remember, I've got a little cold going, so my head's fogged up. So it is Santa's coat, and we do have some pockets. So not only is it an act of making the Santa cookie rug, and maybe you're making it for somebody, which can also add to the word believe. It's the doing part of believing. But then there's a little something with the pockets that is another doing to the word believe. So that's where all the Santa cookies rug comes in. That's why I look forward to this every year, because even if there's one person that begins to feel and believe in the magic of Christmas, that is exactly what I hope for. Even if it's just one a year, I'll take that. But I hope it's a lot more. So I hope that you enjoy this Santa cookie rug. This is the last one of the year, and know that I'm going to be using this one this year. So saying that, let's talk about this for just a second. I will tell you, I'm going to get into business now. I don't know if you could see them far away. I don't know. There's some stringlies here. They're not supposed to be there. We will talk about this at the end. So they're not supposed to be there. They are there for a reason. So we'll talk about it at the end, okay? But in order to make this, I will tell you this is a 10-inch square pack friendly, okay? So I used Holiday Flourish, the Scarlet Color Story. It's a Robert Kaufman. It comes out, the Holiday Story comes out every year, or Holiday Flourish. It comes out every year. They change it up a bit. Every year I have to buy for the shop something out of that line because it is so pretty. And my son actually picked this one this year. And like I said, it's the Scarlet color story. So we've got beautiful grays and beautiful reds and beautiful silvers and blacks and a little bit of white. It's just, and it has a little metallic in it. It's just gorgeous. It's always gorgeous. Robert Kaufman always knocks this out of the park every year with his holiday flourish. So that's what I used for the Santa cookie rug. I actually used 2 of the reds, 2 of the whites, 1 black, and 1 gray for the topper. I'm going to put a supply list. The link is down below. You can take notes if you wish about the different piece sizes as the video goes along, okay? Because I do say what they are. But I put together a list and a supply list so that you have it in a physical form that you can keep and not have to take your own notes, if you so choose. So the only other thing that I will say, so I used 2 reds, 10-inch squares, 2 whites, 1 black, 1 gray. Not all of the white, the second white, not all of the black, and not all of the gray, but I cut into a 10-inch square, so that's why I'm telling you that. And then there are 2 extra 3.5-inch squares that can be from anything. I just happen to use another red, but they can be anything at all. It could even be a red scrap. It could be anything. Okay. Now, I will say you don't have to use this fabric. You can use your own stash of anything you have that you feel would look really great as a Santa cookie rug that looks like Santa Claus's coat. Okay. This does not require you to go out and buy anything. This is designed as a gift to bring hope and joy and happiness and love. And if you have it in your stash, I encourage you to use those things. But if you want to make this one, or you find that line to be just as pretty as I do and you want some, we do have it in the shop, so you can feel free to pick that up. So I use 2 reds, 2 whites, 1 black, 1 gray, 2 scraps of 3.5-inch squares. Now, for the backing, you could use like 4, and I talk about at the end, 4 more squares of the fabric, or you could do what I did. I used a fat quarter, and depending on how you're quilting, you may want to do a 20.5-inch square. Okay, that would definitely be a good way to go. So there's that for the backing. As far as the binding goes, just like last week's, it's 86 inches. So that is a quarter yard width of fabric, and it'll take 2 strips full plus the part of the third. You could do 5, that'd be, what is that? 10, 20, 40, 80. You could do 9 strips of your 10-inch square pack, and that would be 2 more squares plus a third, a part of the third. You could do, I mean, there's so many things you could do. I'm telling you, 86 inches, okay? Width of fabric is 40. So that's where the 2 would be 80 plus a partial on the third. 86 inches is what you'll need, okay? That's why I wanted to give you that measurement. So, yeah. Let me look around. You want to learn how to make it? It is so super cute, guys. I cannot wait. This one, oh, I can't wait to use it this year. So, I want to learn how to make it too. Yeah, I know, I already did it. I want to show you how to make it. So let's go ahead and believe in the magic of Christmas and do the doing part of believe and get started on this last Santa cookie rug of 2022. So I'll see you in just a sec. I thought I'd bring you in and demonstrate for you how to cut this all up, because if you don't cut it right, you might not have enough fabric, right? So the first thing that I like to do is actually take my ruler, okay, and I like to see how much of a 10-inch square it is. So do I have overage? Because that helps me determine where to really line this up. Okay, and if you can tell, this is my 10-inch line. It goes above it, and I'm pretty straight down at the bottom. Remember, we have these pinked edges, And it sticks out a little bit over here and a lot over here. Well, not a lot, but a little bit over there. Okay. So I know I have some flexibility to get rid of these pinked edges. The first cut, I always try to start with the larger ones and then work my way down. Okay. So we need a 5.5 by 9.5. We need 2 of those. So I'm first going to take my ruler here and I'm going to line it up so that the 5.5-inch line over here is right next to the pinked edge, but not exactly on it. Okay. Once I'm happy, I look about straight down at the bottom. That's much better. Once I feel good about where it's at, I'm going to 5.5. I'm double checking. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. Okay. And this is, we're going to use this, so don't get rid of it. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around. This is straight now. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my ruler so that the 5.5-inch line is on the fabric. It's not to the right of the fabric. It's not all the way to the left of the fabric, but the edge of the fabric and that line are lined up really nice. Now I'm trying to work on lighting, guys, so I have some weird shadowing still going on, but and obviously some weird lighting going on here. I'm getting there though. I promise you I'm getting there. Okay. So once I have this all straight, I'm going to go ahead and take off the pinked edge on the other side. I really do not like to sew with the pinked edges. I'm hoping I went all the way through. Yep. Okay. So that's scrap. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to 9.5. So I'm going to take my ruler again. Now remember, I want to get rid of these pinked edges. Okay. So I'm going to take my ruler again, and on my 9.5 inch, I'm going to pull it in. I'm trying to decide which line to use here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up a dotted or a dashed line. It's actually the 1.5. And I'm lining that up along the straight edge that I have on this fabric. Okay, so that it's nice and straight. So I know I have a straight line. My 9.5 is over here. So I have the pinked edges on the right side of it because I'm going to get rid of it. So there's my 9.5 right along there. Okay, so once I like where I like it, or once I like where it's at, I go ahead and cut. I'm going to spin it around. And now I can line up the 9.5 inch line on the straight edge of the fabric. Once I like it, I'm going to go ahead and cut off that pinked edge. Okay. And now we have one of our 9.5 by 2.5, 9.5 by 2.5, 9.5 by 5.5 inch piece of fabric, and I've done that already to the other one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in one of those leftovers, and the next size that we need to cut, we have four 5.5 by 1.5 and 4 3.5 by 1.5. So what I'm actually going to do, and I'd rather list that as a 1.5 by 3.5 and a 1.5 by 5.5, because that first number is exactly what strips I'm going to try and as many as I can right now out of this, and you'll see why here in a second. So I'm going to line this up. I have a straight edge over here, not over here, but I do have one over there. So I'm going to line up my 1.5. Okay, and when I like where it's at, I'm a little bit in the dark, so you got to bear with me just a little. I'm going to go ahead and cut 1.5. So there's one. I'm going to do it again. I think we'll be able to get 3 out of this. We will see. Maybe not. Okay. Oh, yeah, we will. I can see it. So there's 2. And always pull that fabric, your strip away first before you move your hand. Because if you didn't get it cut like I didn't, you'll need to reposition it, right? And it may not line up correctly if you take that ruler away. So the last one, I'm going to cut my 1.5. Clean this up. I want to check it because I don't think I'm trying to do this very easily. I think so. I think we're good. Yep. All right. So I said we need 4 1.5 by 5.5s and 4 1.5 by 3.5. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a straight edge because I'm getting rid of this pinking stuff. 5.5 plus 3.5 is 8, 9. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay. So I'm going to line up on a dashed line. Make on the bottom here because I have a straight edge. Okay. I'm going to get rid of that pinked edge. Gives me a nice straight line to work with. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out of each one of these. I will cut a 5.5 and a 1.5. Okay. Very easily line up the 5.5 on this side. Pick the dash line. And I want one without the numbers. Okay, once I have it nice and straight and where I like it, I'm going to go ahead and snip. So this is one of the 1.5 by 5.5. Okay, there's one. And then see if we can get 3.5 out of this. We should. I mean, if you look really good, you should have a straight up here, a straight down here, and then a straight on the edge. That's 3 1/4. See, you double check every time. Okay. Yep. 3.5. Boom. That's scrap. So we have 1 5.5 and 1 3.5. Now I'm not going to do this off camera. I mean on camera for you because we got to do it 3 more times. Now remember, we only had 3 total out of that extra first strip. But when you cut 2 10-inch squares of the 9.5 by 5.5, okay, these were each 10, you got that left over. So then I will cut one more 1.5 inch strip. So this is where my pinked edge is. So I'm going to use the straight edge again. Okay. So now we will have a total of 4 1.5 by width of fabric of a 10-inch square. So 1.5 by 10-inch strips that we can get all 4 of the 5.5 and 3.5 inch little strips. Okay, those are your subcuts. So I'll do these off camera to finish them up. The next thing, you will need a 3.5 by 2.5. Okay, so this is all the fabric I have left. Okay. To cut all my leftovers, which it works out perfect. So this time I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch strip. Okay. Oh, see, it didn't go all the way through. Right at the end. There we go. Okay. And out of this, you'll need 2 3.5s, okay? 2 3.5 by 2.5 or 3 2.5 by 3.5, however you look at it. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is give myself a straight edge. Get rid of that pinked edging. Okay. There's my straight edge. And very simply cut 2 3.5 inch. So again, line up on the straight on this side of 3.5. You can look at the bottoms and the tops to make sure you're actually straight. Okay. Let me just double check it. It doesn't look straight to me. If you have trouble seeing, sometimes it's easier if you flip over your fabric to the wrong side. Try that again. Of course, if I grabbed a smaller ruler, it would help too, probably. There we go. There's one. Yes. Whew. Should have checked first. There's one 3.5 by 2.5. And I'm actually going to bring that down a bit, make it easier on myself for the bottom. Okay. There we are. This is what's left over of the 2 10-inch squares. So we will get, well, that and some scrapplies. So out of this, you will have 2 2.5 by 3.5, 4 1.5 by 3.5, 4 1.5 by 5.5, and 2 5.5 by 9.5. So that's all the subcutting for the red. We have a few more left. I think some of them are pretty self-explanatory. This was the one I worried about the most, but I am going to bring in for the white. So I'll see you. I'm going to go grab the white fabric, and I'll see you in just a sec. Now we're at the white fabric. And we have a few cuts out of this. I'm going to attempt to get it out of 1 10-inch square, but no, we do have another duplicate. So if I need more, it'll be okay. But let's go ahead and get this started. So I will tell you the first thing, like before, I always look at my 10-inch square just to see how much extra, if any, because sometimes you don't have any. This one has a good decent amount for me to get rid of pinked edges. So, what are the sizes? We need, first thing I'm going to do is cut a 6.5 inch strip because we need 6.5 by 4.5, 1 6.5 by 2.5, and 2 6.5 by 1.5. So let's go ahead and cut the 6.5 inch strip first. And I'm taking it pretty darn close to the pinked edge. I'm going to shave it off, because I only like, you know, what do we call those? Straight edges. I don't like this pink stuff. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. That's one. Now out of this, I said, well, actually, first I'm going to get rid of this pinked edge. So I'm going to line up my 6.5 line along that straight edge. And just clean it up. Boom. Oop, of course. Let's go ahead and take that out. Okay, there we are. Now, this is our 6.5 inch strip. Let's clarify. Yep, it goes 6.5. So the first thing I'm going to do is take away one edge of the pinked edges. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm lining up down at the bottom here on a straight edge and getting rid of it. Okay. Flip this around, and we need a 6.5 by 4.5. So lining up on 2 straight edges now. We're going to cut a 4.5 inch strip. Okay, we only need one of those. Put this aside. Now we need one 6.5 by 2.5. Lining up on the 2.5 inch line. Okay. And we need 2 1.5s. Oh boy. Okay. 6.5 by 1.5. That's getting pretty skinny, huh? There's one. That over here. Let's see how close we came. Oh, we can do it. We can do it. We're going to get rid of that pinked edge, basically. Boom. So all the 6.5s are cut. The 6.5 by 4.5, 6.5 by 2.5, and 2 6.5 by 1.5. Okay, so now let's go to the rest of it. Let's see if we can get it out of this piece right here. We need a 3.5 by 3, a 1.5. Oh, we need 2 of those. And then we need 4 1.5 inch squares. We'll see. Okay. So I am going to see if I can get, yes, I can. I'm going to cut a 3-inch strip, guys. I hope this works. Okay. If not, like I said, we've got another piece. It'll be all right. Okay. So I'm going to turn this. I'm going to get rid of the pinked edge. Yeah, I think that, whoop, I just moved it. You got to love it when it slides, right? It's the most wonderful time of the year. I got Christmas music singing in my head all day, every day. Okay. So this is a 3-inch square. So I first need a 3 by 3.5. So I'm going to go to the 3-inch line. Oh, I need 2 of those. So that's not straight. Okay. Yeah, okay. Whew, wait a minute. That's a 3 yeah, that's right. Okay. There's one. Go to 3.5 again. All right. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my ruler and line up on the 1.5 because we need 4 1.5 inch squares. I think we could do it, guys. I think this is going to work. So that's the 1.5. It just doesn't like that end. There we go. I'm going to put this aside. So I'm going to split this in half. I'm going to take it and go move this over. I know that glare. I'm not used to this lighting here. Okay, so then we go over and we're just basically going to cut it in half. Okay. There's one. Now I always verify. 2. Oh, okay. Now we're going to cut this down to 1.5. We hope. Oh yeah, look, I'm just getting rid of the pinked edge. That glare, I know, guys. Let me move over just a little bit here. There we go, that's better. Okay. I was pretty certain that we were going to be able to get all of this in one strip, but you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that was my 1.5 inch strip. So now I'm going to cut 2 1.5 inch squares. There's one. And let's verify. And 2. All right. So let's get that out of the way. One strip gave us 1 6.5 by 4.5, 1 6.5 by 2.5, and 2 6.5 by 1.5s, 4 1.5 inch squares, and 2 3.5 by 3 inch squares. We're not quite done with white yet, so I have went ahead and cut a 2.5 inch strip out of the second piece. And you should be able to get 4 2.5 inch squares out of this. If not, remember, we've got plenty extra. The white didn't concern me as much, but I really wanted to be able to get all of the strips that I mentioned earlier. Okay. And that way, we use it most efficiently. So here we go. I'm just simply cutting 4 2.5 inch squares. Can she do it? Oh man, every time, guys. You know why? It's because I'm not starting before the ruler. Ooh, we're just cutting off the pinked edge. How perfect is that? There we go. 4 2.5 inch squares. Now all the white is complete. I will cut with you the black next. So let me grab my black fabric. And then as far as gray, we'll talk about it, but it's really, there's no trouble. It's very minimal. So I'll see you in just a sec. Here's the black fabric. Now I will say black on a black mat makes it a little hard to see. So I am going to flip it over, hoping it helps a little. So like before, I'm going to go ahead and see how big this 10 inch square really is. And it is slightly bigger. Wow, that is so nice. I love it. So I'm going to first cut a straight edge on one side. It doesn't look straight to me for some reason. That's better. Okay. Get rid of that. Spin it around. Okay, for the black, this is going to be easy to get, but we need 2 6.5 by 2.5s and 3 2.5 inch squares. So the first thing I'm going to do is what? Cut a 6.5 inch strip. Absolutely. Now we could have done this different. I could have cut, you know what? I'm going to cut it different. Just got to thinking. I'm going to go ahead and cut 3 2.5 inch strips. So I said, and there's a reason I didn't want to have weird shapes left over. So we said a 6.5 by 2.5. We need 2 of those. So I'm going to be able to get 1 out of each strip. And then we also need 3 2.5 inch squares. So that's why I'm cutting a third 2.5 inch strip. Okay. So many ways you can cut this, but I mean, you've got plenty of fabric for the black. So there's 1. And again, good grief, y'all are going to get annoyed with that. I know I am. So there's 1. Two. And 3. Okay, I'm going to give myself a straight edge on one side. You know what? I didn't have to cut 3. I just realized. Let's take it closer and I'll show you why. But that's okay because it'll just go into my scrap bin. Okay. So, out of 1 strip, I think we only needed to cut 2 strips. We can get 1 6.5. So there's our 6.5 by 2.5. And we can get a 2.5 inch square. Oh, we did need to cut 3. All right. Okay. So 1 6.5 by 2.5. 1 2.5 inch square. Okay, I'm going to give myself a straight edge again. This black fabric on a black cutting mat is quite interesting. Okay, move that out. So then we need a 6.5 again. Okay, and we need a 2.5 again. Now we need a third 2.5, and that's where the extra strip has to come into play. Okay. And so we just need that last 2.5 inch square. Gave myself a straight edge. There we are. So now we have, flip it around. Now you could fussy cut if you wanted. I'm not. I like the randomness, but we've got 3 2.5 inch squares and 2 6.5 by 2.5. Okay, so that's all the black. Now, as far as the gray, you will be able to get everything very easily off of 1 10.5 inch square. So I'm not going to cut that for you, but just as a reminder, you'll need 2 4.5 by 1.5s and 2 2.5 by 1.5s. Very easily done. Doesn't take much fabric. This is the gray that I chose. So that's it. Those are all the cuts. So let's start putting this together. I'll see you in just a sec. We are going to begin with building the bottom half of this mug rug. It's going to be built in 3 different parts. Okay, the bottom, the middle, and the top. And then we're able to put everything together much more easier. One thing, I must have holiday brain, because I did forget to mention to cut 2 3.5 inch squares of any fabric. We're actually building pockets. So this is going to be the base behind the pocket. And it really doesn't matter which fabric you use, unless you might have, if you're giving this to a quilter, or if it's something that you'll be concerned with, then you'll want to pick something that is nice to put in the back of the pocket. But I will show you here. I have one finished. Okay, I'm using the exact same fabric. So you have to really pull to see the underneath. This covers very, very nicely. Okay, and we're going to make 2 of these. Okay. So I'm walking one with you, but you'll go ahead and make 2. So I took 2 of this print in the 10 inch square pack, and I just cut 2 3.5 inch squares. Made it easy. It's still red in case somebody looks in there. It didn't really matter though what you put in there. Okay. The very first step with this, well, let me also tell you, let me back that up. I'm telling you, I have holiday brain. For one pocket, you will also need 2 3.5 by 1.5. 2 5.5 by 1.5, 1 white of 3.5 by 3, that really odd shaped one, and then you'll need 1 3.5 by 2.5. Okay, so it's half of everything that you cut with the red, and then those 2 weird white ones, they're 3.5 by 3. You'll need 1 for each pocket. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to make this really easier on ourselves is you're going to take your back of your pocket. So this is a 3.5 inch square of a random fabric. It can be the same of this. I just showed y'all, I cut it down. I used it all up. So that's why I chose a different one. And we're going to first attach a 3.5 by 1.5 inch square. And to be real with you, I'm just going to go ahead and press it out. So that's the first step. So we'll get that done. Okay, while I don't know if y'all are like me, but I sewed those 2 pieces. Mind you, everything I'm telling you, you sew with a 1/4 inch. Okay, unless I say different. I do have something to add about that later for this pocket, but right now, 1/4 inch. So now, while that's cooling and I'm letting it, after I've pressed that first group there, I'm going to take the 3.5 by 3 inch white piece of fabric. I'm going to fold it wrong sides together, okay? So you really do want the pretty side to be on the outside. And then I'm going to take this to my pressing board and I'm going to go ahead and press this, okay? Once it's pressed and it's nice and straight, I'm going to take that 3.5 by 2.5 inch strip and I'm going to sew it right sides together. Okay. Now I will tell you, so I know, let me turn down the light here just a bit. Okay, it's a little better. This silver is something else, isn't it? Okay, so I am going to press this so the right sides are outside. Okay, make it nice, beautiful, flat. Take them right sides together and sew a 1/4 inch. When I go to press this one, I will actually press towards the red because it'll have less bulk, because we're going to be going through 3 layers of fabric with this one. Okay, so a 1/4 inch, fold it, press it, right sides facing out the white, place it right sides together and give it a 1/4 inch. Okay. Okay, so once you have that background of your inside of your pocket plus your strip on top sewn, and again, if you're wondering, I pressed going out, okay, towards the top. And then once you have your outside of your pocket, okay, so I folded this in half and I went ahead and pressed it and stitched it to this piece, and I pressed it going down because, like I said, there's less bulk going down. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to lay this right on top, and you're lining up. You can line up the 2 sides, okay, and the bottom. Okay. To be real with you, so it doesn't flippy floppy around, I go ahead and I pin where I'm not going to be sewing. Well, that's not straight. Well, first I think I'm going to pin down at the bottom because we want to keep it nice and straight. Yep. Yep. And then I believe it or not, I do like to pin in the white because there's nothing holding it really down. And I tried on the first one, at first I tried not to pin it on the side or on in the white, and it just went nuts. It wasn't very effective. I just need it to stay there. You know, I just want to make sure I'm all straight. Okay. Ow. Don't poke yourself. Okay, so once you get all of this pinned, you're going to actually take it with the other 3.5 by 1.5 inch of the red fabric, and you're going to go ahead and place this right sides together, okay? And you're just going to sew the bottom together with your 1/4 inch. And I again press down because we are again going through 3 layers of fabric, and there'll be less bulk if I send it going down. So put all of these on top of each other. Put your last 3.5 by 1.5 down. Go ahead and stitch a 1/4 inch on the bottom, and I'll see you in just a sec. Okay, she's coming together very nicely. Last but not least, this is the last part to make this pocket. You'll take your 1.5 by 5.5 inch strips, and you will just simply, and I would still keep these pins here. And the nice thing about these pins, these are magic pins, you can press on them. You can leave them in and press on them. And because of the silicone tips, they don't melt or anything like that. And so I just left them on there while I'm pinning, and I'm still going to leave them on there and until the whole block's complete, because we're still loosey-goosey on the sides because there's nothing holding this pocket really on. So you're going to take your 5.5 by 1.5 inch strips, one on each side, sew your 1/4 inch. Now I want to talk about this. I'm going to do that off camera and then mine will be finished, okay? Because all we're doing left is sewing these 2 pieces on. And again, I will press out on both sides because there's going to be a lot less bulk. Now, mind you guys, we're going to be going through at one point, well, and a lot of points, you'll be going to, well, even in the seam over here, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. There's 4 layers right here. So, and then there's 3 throughout this rest of it. So you're going to be going through a little bit more, which is fine. I went ahead because I'm going to fudge it. And I'm going to show you how I fudge it later. But you should be measuring at 5.5 by 5.5. It should be a 5.5 inch square. Okay. There's that darn light again. It's right there. Can you see it? Okay. And then I don't even know what this is. I guess that's the other one. So it should measure at 5.5 inch square. Now I will tell you, mine is about 1/8 of an inch skinny, but it's only 1/8. And I'll tell you, it's because I sewed with the 1/4 inch. Okay. And because of all the bulk going this direction, it made it 1/8 of an inch shy. So I'm actually going to hide that in the seam when I sew the whole thing together. And I'll just show you what I do, or I'll give you a tip with if you want to learn how to fudge it. So if you don't and you really want this to be 5.5 inch square, you're going to need to adjust just a smidge and make that seam a little smaller so that whenever you are sewing it together, it comes out to the correct size. But that's up to you. I'm not doing that. It's 1/8 of an inch. I'm not stressed about 1/8 of an inch. So when I come back, we will have 2 pockets and we're going to start the middle of the bottom section. But at this point, sew your left and right 5.5 by 1.5 to your center, and then do that again for your second pocket. Do all of that over so you have 2 pockets, and then I'll see you in just a sec. For the middle section of the bottom, we're going to go ahead and take 2 of the 1.5 inch squares and 1.5 by 4.5 inch, and you're just going to simply sew these together, okay? And I go back and forth with this. I'm going to go ahead and press them in, okay? And so each one of these 1/4 inch, so this side, and I'm going to press them going in. And then when that's together, we'll add the bottom. So let's get this strip done. All right, both 1.5 inch squares are sewn to the gray and they are pressed towards the gray. So now we just simply add. This is 6.5 by 4.5. So we're taking that 6.5 by 4.5 and attaching it to that strip with a 1/4 inch seam. We're almost done, guys. All 3 pieces are now sewn together, and I did go ahead and press down towards the white. And the reason is because we have a lot of seams up here and it just makes it less bulky when you go to the side that doesn't have the seams. Now, it's 1/8 of an inch, guys. It's 1/8 of an inch, okay? If you want to get persnickety about it, it would be a 1/16 of an inch on each side. That's hardly anything. So you could just not worry about this. However, you know, because I did say that these pockets were 1/8 of an inch too small, I'm going to let this be a little bit skinnier on one side. And just to show you a way to fix it, now I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line just so you can see 1/8 of an inch. It's not even worth it, guys. But it would be a 1/16 of an inch, which is half of 1/8. But what you can do is draw yourself a line, okay? Go ahead and push that down a little, make sure it's straight. And when you line up, and notice it's on the wrong side of the fabric, okay? And when you line up, you'd want to line up, well, you could just, let's just do it on the right side because it doesn't matter. I did it on the left, I mean on the wrong too, because that's actually the side I'm going to line it up with. No, I'm not. I'm going to line it up on this side. Okay, so we could line up 1/8 of an inch. Okay, get it nice and straight. Draw yourself a little line. Okay, like I said, it's 1/8 of an inch. You could just sew it a little shy. Now I want to make sure that I'm doing this the right way, but what I'll do is I'll put right sides together, and I would line up along that 1/8 of an inch and stitch. Now if I wanted to get persnickety about it, I could go in a little bit further and sew along that, and that will actually allow, I'd have to do the same thing on the other side, but I'm okay with it being just a little short. So I'm just gonna, I'll line that up. I'll pin it in place. Now when you line it up, you're going to want to pay attention to your top and your bottom, because you know it's off a little bit. And go ahead and pin it. See where I'm at here. All right. So then I'll just do my regular 1/4 inch, but I'll line it up on that larger fabric. So let me take you in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I would keep it on this side of the fabric. Well, it really wouldn't matter. If you did it on this side, remember it's not quite straight. We drew a line on both sides. It really doesn't matter. But whenever you do this, okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep it up. Whenever you take this in, as you can see here, we'll go ahead and sew this. Pull you back over. Snips would be good. Here we go. I got my leader ender on here still. So as you can see, it's stitched. Well, actually, let's just measure how well I did. 1/8 of an inch is what we were looking for. Well, it's a 1/4. Well, I'm on a scant 1/4, just so you know, but my seam line is about a 1/4 inch away from the silver, and within that, I'm like 1/8 of an inch of what I used of the red fabric. And all that's going to do is give me that extra itty bitty to make sure that my whole bottom section comes out to 16.5. Okay. So if it was a little more, you know, I'd be more persnickety about it, but that's how you can fudge different things. You don't have to worry about too much, but if you were worried, because what'll happen if you sewed with 1/8 of a 1/4 inch with this fabric and a 1/4 inch with this side, then you're going to be a 1/4 inch short the whole way. Okay, because you're taking in an extra 1/8 on each. If you wanted to just sew itsy bitsy less, all you would have to do is line them up and just make it so it's like barely anything there. You don't have to draw the lines. I normally don't draw lines, but I wanted to show you exactly how I would hide this. And there's no seams to nest here, so that's a bonus. I am going to press towards the red on this one. So just so you know, okay? And I'll press towards the red on this side. So then once you have both and you have it pressed, this should measure, okay, 5.5 by 16.5 long. And now we're going to move to the middle section. So let me gather everything up. I'm going to go ahead and get this finished off camera so it'll be ready. And I will see you in just a sec. Okay, for the middle section, which is basically Santa's belt, you will need the 6.5 by 2.5 inch strips of black, the 2.5 inch square of black, and 2 of the 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles of gray. Man, guys, this is simple. Love simple, especially after it wasn't hard, just a little bit more detail to the bottom section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of my grays and I'm going to sew them onto the strip using a 1/4 inch seam on each side. The most important part of the middle section is which way we press these seams that we're sewing on right now, okay? And they both need to go towards the strips. They need to go out. And you will see here why when we get to further along here. So go ahead and sew these two on. I'll sew mine on and I'll see you in just a sec. Okay, easy peasy guys. Both are pressed towards the black. Then we just simply go ahead and add our 2.5 inch square right smack in the center. 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on this side. It really doesn't matter which way you press that one. So I'm going to go ahead and press it towards the black also, just to keep it consistent, right? So that's the last of this. 1/4 inch on each side of this 2.5 inch square, and this middle section will be done, and then we begin the top. So I'm going to get this done off camera, and then I'll get everything ready for the top portion, and we'll get started on that. Hope you're having fun like I am. I'll see you in just a sec. Once you have all of these sewn together, it should measure at 2.5 by 16.5. Okay, I wanted to let you know where we should be, okay, with each part. So that's the second part. That's the middle. For the very top and for the last part, we're going to use all the rest of the fabric that we've already cut together. All these parts. We got to use them up, and that's exactly what we're going to do for this very last part. It's the top part of his uniform or his coat or however you want to look at it. So we're going to do these last. So we'll put the red panels away. We're going to start with what's left. We had one more left of the gray, and then we had two 1.5 inch squares, just like on the bottom. We did this before on the bottom, and we're going to take them right sides together, and we're going to sew them 1/4 inch on each side, and just like the bottom, we're going to press towards the gray. The pressing is important so that everything nests. If you're a nester like I am, because y'all know I'm a nester, I don't prefer the poke and pin, so I'm going to nest them. So if you're nesting like I am, you'll want to attach them with a 1/4 inch seam and press towards the gray, exactly like we did on the bottom. So let's get that done, and then we'll go to the next step. I'll see you in just a sec. Okay, once you have it all sewn together and pressed going towards the gray, it should measure at 6.5 by 1.5. Okay, so there's that piece. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 2.5 inch black squares and the 4 2.5 inch white squares. Look, we're going to make it easy breezy, guys. There might be a lot of parts to this, but at least they're manageable. Okay, and we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to stitch 1/4 inch on each side, attaching the white to the center black. And the beautiful thing, guys, we don't have to worry about nesting any seams. So I'm going to go ahead and press them towards the black, just so I don't have any shadows with the white. But that's the only reason. Nothing's going to nest. I love that. So 1/4 inch, sew these whites on each black. 1/4 inch seam. I'm pressing towards the black. You press where you like, and I will see you in just a sec. Once you have your whites sewn onto the black, it should be 6.5 inches long by 2.5 inches wide. Okay. Then we're going to simply add this 6.5 by 2.5 inch strip, and you'll do your 1/4 inch. Okay, it won't matter which way you press it, so I'm going to press towards this center strip because there's a lot more bulk on either side. So to help distribute that, I'm going to press inward towards this strip. 1/4 inch, press in. At the same time, I want you to go ahead and take your 6.5 by 1.5 and attach the gray with the white 1.5s that we already sewn together. Go ahead and attach these. Again, there are no nesting seams to worry about on either side, so I will press again towards this white. Quarter inch, press towards the white, quarter inch, press towards the white. Okay, so I will see you guys in just a sec. Once you have your strips all sewn together, we've got one more for the middle of the top. We're going to sew these two together, just like so. And we're going to put that last white strip right on top. Okay, so I'll simply take them right sides together. Okay, so my quarter inch, which way am I going to press them? I'm going to press again towards the white strip. You don't have to. There's nothing that we have to worry about as far as seams go over here. So you could press towards the centers with your blacks. I just again know that there are a little bit more bulk with the seam, so I'm going to press them going towards the white strips. Okay, and that'll be the last part of the center of the top, so I'll see you again in just a sec. All right, the complete center of Santa's coat on the top. So the last part of the top section is to add those red panels, and because we cut right and we measured right and we sewed correctly, they will fit magically, and look, no nesting seams. So again, go ahead and put them right sides together and go ahead and stitch a quarter inch seam on each side, plain and simple. Now, as a tip, I would put the red on the bottom of your sewing machine towards the bobbin, because there's no seams here, and that way when you're sewing you can see the seams as you go along to make sure that they're not flipping. Okay, so that's just a little tip. So I'll get mine done off camera, and then we've got one more step for the topper, so I'll see you in just a sec. All right, once you have your top piece together, if you're wondering, I ended up pressing both of these seams towards the red because there was all this bulk in these seams, so I just eliminated some of that bulk by pressing them both to the red. Okay, turned out super cute. I love this. Now the last step is to sew each of the three parts together, and I will tell you, because we pressed this seam going towards the gray and this seam going towards the black and this seam going towards the gray, that's gray, black, gray, guess what? All gonna nest. Same with this one. These three also meet, gray, black, gray. All your seams will nest that need to. Once it's all sewn together, quarter inch seam still, nothing's changed, you will have a topper that should measure at 16.5 inch squared. So 16.5 inch all the way around. And then we got to quilt it, right? So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and get mine all sewn together and come back at you, and we'll talk a little bit about the quilting. So I'll see you in just a sec. We have completely finished our Santa cookie rug, and I wanted to talk about a few things with you because I told you we would, and just kind of give you a breakdown here of just exactly what's going to happen. Now, I did mention these little stringlies at the beginning, so we're going to talk about those in a bit, but I want to let you know that I took the easy button again. Anytime you're doing a project, you always want to consider what kind of batting and, of course, your backing, right? Now, different battings have different maximum stitch, I don't know the word I'm looking for, width that you can do. So, Dream Poly by Quilter's Dream is 10 inches on their Select Loft. So, I used a poly batting because this block and this block finish at 9 inches, and I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't going to get any migration if and when I wash this. Okay, however, that afforded me the opportunity to take the easy way out and just do simple stitch in the ditch. Now, I did get a little crazy, okay, and a little brave and I actually stitched in the ditch with black. I did. So let's see if I can show it to you here. I don't know how well you'd be able to see, but that is black thread, okay? And to be real with you, you can't see it on the back because I do have these stringlies, but that is because I matched to the backing, okay? So you can tell this is a black thread. So this is all done. All I did though is I stitched in a ditch here. I stitched in a ditch here. I did around each of these 2.5 inch squares, or now they're finished at 2 inches, including this one. That's why there's a stitch here, which we're going to talk about. I did stitch in a ditch along here and then along the outside of this, okay? And even, yep, I even did it in between, I think. I have to look. Let's see. Yep, I did. So I did it along here also. I'm very surprised I did that. But it looks like I did. Maybe I didn't. But here, tell of tales right here. If I flip it over. Okay, I did not stitch in the ditch there. Nope, no stitching in the ditch. So I just went around the belt buckle and around inside the belt buckle where the belt goes through, and then the belt itself, and then down here just these. Okay, that's the only stitch in a ditch I did. Of course it is done with all black. Okay. So if I wibble wobbled, you'd see it. So that's why it was kind of scary, because black will show up on both white and red very, very boldly. A little harder on the black and the dark gray, but this red and white was a little scary. But I will tell you, because of the way that we pressed during this whole thing, what ended up happening is all of my, I shouldn't say that, most of my mountains were on, no, I'm not even going to say that. They weren't nothing. They were on the lighter side for the most part, but that allows the extra, the mountain to fold over, which happens to be the same color. And when I bobbled, if I bobbled onto the black, it wouldn't matter unless I was in on the silver part, right? But yeah, it was a little scary, but I wanted, if it does show at all, I wanted it to give it a little punch, and you can't see it, so there's no real punch. But if it does in the future, there'll be a little punch to it, because they'll have a little black line to outline everything. I did not do along here because I didn't want to accent this too much, okay? And I didn't need to, because I did have up to 10 inches. Now, Quilter's Dream Cotton is 8 inches, okay? So this and this would have needed to been quilted. I was thinking about that. I had a couple of ideas. Tracing anything when you free motion quilt is actually a lot easier said than done. And if you get off, a lot of times your brain may, and you might be really good at it, okay? But for a lot of people, if it gets off a little bit, their brain frazzles a bit and then they jiggy-jaggy. A lot of times you're not right on the line. It's really a lot harder to trace things than just to free motion your own. But taking that in consideration, I still think doing the same kind of free motion quilt in here, so that you're going along a stemish and you're doing a little swirly, and then you can come back out, and then you can go. You don't have to be on the line. I'd form your own, I don't know what they're called, larger, flares with swirls. I don't know what this is. So you could, very much well do something similar. Just don't worry about being right exactly on the lines, and just kind of use it as a guide. Okay, the better flow it has, I think the better it would look. That's just my opinion. Of course, I'd love to hear what your ideas are. Another one I was thinking of is just a very simple 2 straight lines, fairly skinny. I'd say probably maybe ½ inch apart, 1/4 inch, ½ inch, somewhere in there to have to play with it a little bit. But 2 going down this way and then 2 going across. 2 going down this way and 2 going across. Maybe even a deeper cross down lower. Okay, so you had it separated maybe a 1/3 way down. You would have this. It's just another idea. Of course, you can always do a straight line or 2 inside here. You can always do a wavy line. That works too. But stitch in a ditch, guys, it just made this really easy and gave me some more practice slowing down. Walking, not running, because that black thread would have been, whoo, that'd have been fun. So, yeah, that's what I did for the quilting. As far as the backing went, I did end up using another fat quarter from Charm Holiday from Bernatec's. Super love Christmas trees, plus I love the black. I ended up using a Kona Premium Jet Black for the binding. I thought it added a little, like, some lipstick around the front, and it matches really well on the back. That was what I did, but I will tell you, this fabric is so pretty. One of the things I thought of doing is taking 4 of them. Let me move this out of the way for a second. And basically, I mean, look at these fabrics, guys. Oh my geez. They are so pretty. Okay. And basically making a 4 patch. Now, I will tell you, 10-inch squares on a 4 patch give you 19.5 once they're sewn together. Okay, so if you're good with 19.5 because you're doing tight, like stitch in a ditch, you don't need a bunch on the outside, that's fine. But if you are going to do some free motion and you need that little extra along the edges, I got to thinking, how would I have done that? And what I would have done is what I do in a long arm. If you don't have enough on the outside of your quilt so that your long arm machine doesn't bump into stuff, you need that extra for your cable lines and such, you put a strip on it. So you could take some muslin or any kind of leftover fabric and basically give yourself a loosey-goosey border. It doesn't have to be pretty, because 19.5 inches is big enough for the quilt top to fit. Okay, because it finishes at 16 inch. Unfinished before you add binding is 16.5. So it gives you an 1.5 inch all the way around. So as long as you get, when you build your sandwich, if you get this on the fabric, you could even play with the idea of getting the center in the center. It's easier said than done, but you could do it. I mean, it's just 4 pieces. So, and then if you need that extra, just add some strips, and then you can do, you could do an all over same design. You could do holly leaves, snowflakes, snowmen with stencils, and just allow the quilting to blend in as a whole. You don't have to break anything up. You could make that very, very easily with that stencil idea, and just do an all over quilting on it. Okay, edge to edge, as we say, and that would look really good too. And then you might need, though, to add a little strip on all the sides to give you that extra room around the edging, so that you don't hit your fingers on the needle bar, that keeps coming down. Ask me how I know. Okay. So that was an idea for the backing. Like I said, I went ahead and used a fat quarter. Super love it. Cute. But this fabric, isn't that just, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous, guys? Oh, I love, love, love this fabric. Every year we buy something, because it is just always, every year, the most beautiful fabric, and the metallics are soft and supple, and they don't come off. These are not cheap. They do a wonderful, wonderful job on their fabrics, and their holiday fabrics are just, they're just so pretty. They're just so pretty. So I decided to save mine, because I'm going to do another project for myself. I'll show you when I'm done. With that fabric line and what's left over, because it didn't take very many 10-inch squares, as y'all saw. So I wanted to save that, and I could have used some of the 10-inch squares also for the binding, but again, I wanted to save it. So that's where that's why you see the premium, which I think turned out fantabulous. The premium jet black for the binding, and the charm holiday fat quarter, the Christmas trees with the black background, because they have one in off-white too. I love the background. I just think it adds so much pop, so much class. Okay. So, last but not least, a little extra element. This was fun for me. Now, this is my adult version, okay? But you know that we made pockets. So if you're going to quilt this in an all over or anything else, do not stitch over the pocket, okay? Because then you don't have a pocket no more. But this allows you to put your secret Christmas wish in here. You could write your own letter to Santa. I got to thinking, if you are with a significant other, that you are just absolutely in love with, and you're spending Christmas together in all the wonderful ways, you could write a letter to each other and put one in each pocket. I thought that would be fun. If you did this for a kid, because it is Santa Claus, right? You could have them write a letter to Santa to put in one pocket, and then in the other pocket, you could have Santa write a letter back. So I thought that might be fun to do too. So the pockets are, I always wanted to do one. I know Vicki, last year, I had to think about the time frame. She did one with a pocket, and the idea was to put the carrots in there, or candy canes, or anything that you wish. And it's really cool. This one is a little smaller, and it's part of his coat, right? He's got his pockets up front. And so it's part of Santa's coat, and it's designed in my head. Now you do whatever, whatever. You could put candy canes in there too. You could put carrots in there too, to be real with you. You can do whatever you want. It's your quilt topper. However, the design that I had in mind was those notes that we can write to, well, you could even write them to Jesus. So it's just about helping to bring back that magic, or that believing time of glory and wonderfulness that Christmas can so do. And that's where this whole design came from, and that's where the pockets come into play. It's to help bring that special feeling back into your soul. So, at any rate, so that's the little extra. Now, I want to say, before I go big here, I want to say these strings right here, I decided there were other places, okay? But I've decided to leave two of them. I think there's just two. I hope so. Yeah. Leave two of them on. So during the live, I'm going to tell you, if you don't know, because some of you are very new to quilting. And so we're going to talk about what these are and why they're there, and then how I get rid of them. Okay. So basically we're going to talk about bearing threads at the end of it. Okay. So I thought I'd do that live, so it allows a place for questions. Specifically, if you have any, even if you watch the hashtag replay, at least it gives you, a more focused concept on, because this can be used in a lot of places, just not on this. And so we'll talk about that at 3:00 today Eastern time during our live quilting and answers. And so, no, they're not supposed to be here, but they are here for a good reason. So we'll talk about that today. And yeah, so let me come back at you here. Okay, so there she is, the Santa cookie rug. There she is up, and we got to put her on the wall. This is my sample. I do want to let you know I did get a tag on. Woohoo! Okay. And it's bound all the way. And yeah, I absolutely love this cookie rug. I think it's so much of really what I want to bring to the Christmas projects, especially the Santa cookie rugs. It really embraces and encompasses everything that I want to bring to you, and hope that I feel some of your soul with allowing yourself to believe in that magic, and believe in the time of Christmas. It just really does something special. And that's where these all come from. And this particular Santa cookie rug is all of that I want to gift to you. I'm trying not to cry. So, yeah, I mean, it means that much to me. So that's where this one this week was super special. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will be on live at 3 p.m., like I said just a few seconds ago, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Along with Mayhem, we will be joining you tomorrow for our live Quilting and Answers, live Q&A. Don't forget to grab that supply list if you're interested in making this. And that way you have all of the necessary pieces that you need for because there's a lot of little pieces in here, right? So that's out there for you for free too. We also, I will again put the link for the Magic Reindeer Food, which is just a very special, fun thing to do where you take different ingredients, and usually I put it in a baggie. This is just for video purposes. And we mix it, shake it all up, and take it out to the yard and sprinkle your yard with Christmas magic to help those reindeer find your home. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be young to celebrate Christmas like we did so many years ago. You can do this at 90. You can do it at 50. You can do it at 30. And you can do it with the little peoples that you have, and help bring your spirit to that place of joy for this Christmas holiday. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I'll see you today at 3. I won't be here next week. I'm having an inventory party. So it's not, what is an inventory party? I'll be counting all the inventory. So it's not, we're taking that week off. And so I won't see you till next year. So I truly do wish, we all here at Halo truly do wish you an absolutely wonderful, magical, Merry Christmas. And until next time, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful, never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy quilting. Happy Christmas Wednesday. And Merry Christmas to you all.